Howdy, folks. I am Bitter Arctic Bumblebee, blissfully buzzing about bitter barrens.
I'm Amber, but you're supposed to be a bitty Arctic bumblebee.
Yes, I am. I'm very tiny. We've both been shrunken down into the size of ants, which is horrifying, but true. Let's get started. Like Reddit. Horrifying, but true, like Reddit. Let's get started. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Hiding My Success from My Wife? Some background information first. This is a throwaway account, as my real account is tied to my works. I have been married to my wife for 15 years now. We are both full-time government workers, and we each also have our own hobbies to earn extra income. She has her knitting and has an Etsy store. I'm an author, and I have about a dozen published books to my name. I have both self-published and worked with Big Five publishers. I have written under pseudonyms, so I won't reveal what it is, as my family doesn't even know it. Before we were married, we sat down and discussed finances, and we agreed that our government incomes would be deposited into our joint accounts. We also agreed that the money that we earned from our hobbies would be that person's to use only, and that income would be directly deposited into our individual accounts. The exception to that rule was for emergency situations. From a friend's suggestion during COVID, I began to write my first romance-y novel. My wife sometimes proofread and offered edits, but has never shown interest in my work. When I first told her my idea for it, like I do for all of my ideas, she was against the idea of it. Despite her disapproval, I was excited about the storyline that I had created, so I went ahead. My agent pitched it to a Big Five, and one picked it up. 2 years later, it garnered a decent following, and it was on some of the bestseller lists for several weeks. Also, for those who don't know, when an author signs a book contract, they are generally given in advance. I won't reveal exactly how much it was, but it was a good amount, and I negotiated for some royalties. Recently, we had a medical emergency where she was hospitalized for 2 months and required several surgeries. She's okay now. We received the hospital bill, and it was high, even after insurance had covered what they would. She panicked and talked about selling the house so that we could pay for it. I assured her that we wouldn't have to do that, and I said that I had enough in my side account to cover it. Since this was an emergency, I would be willing to use my money from it. When I showed her the total amount that I had in the account, she asked me where I had made it all from, and I told her from my book sales, advances, and royalties. She said that she knew that I did all right at my sales, but not that well. Begrudgingly, I came clean about my romance-y novel. Now, she's saying that I intentionally hid it from her and that she is disgusted by it. She said that if she had known that writing books was that profitable, that she would have said that she would have put it into our joint account from the beginning. I reminded her about the conversations about our separate bank accounts for hobbies. She's insisting that this is more of a career and that it should be deposited into our joint accounts. When I said that if we did that, then her knitting sales should also go into the joint account, her argument was that she doesn't even come close to making what I made. Despite everything, I still love her. We've begun to see a marriage counselor to work on this. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
Yes, OP, you are the jerk. It seems like when you first entered into this agreement, you were both under the assumption that you would be making small amounts of money. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to have some separate money to do with as you please. But if you're making a significant amount of money and your spouse is not aware of that, that feels really unfair. Like you're still expecting her to contribute a much larger percentage of her net income to the bills than you are of yours, without her even understanding the agreement.
Well, I mean, I think that that is some of the problem there too, right? And I mean, I guess what in the comments, I think there's a little bit more information. Like, for instance, when he does taxes, she doesn't even pay attention to the taxes and whatnot. So she isn't really interested in that, the financial side of things. And I guess he still earns less than what he does from his salary. So this isn't like a career type level money. So this is a little bit of a difficult situation in the respect that he's not earning enough that they could just live off of it, right? I mean, this is just some amount of money, right? But it was enough to cover like these hospital bills and expenses.
Right, if they were to the point of thinking that if you thought they needed to sell the house, it has to be substantial.
So I mean, I guess like according to the comments, he's earned like mid five figures or so, and but it's that's a pretty good chunk of money, right? I mean,
Hmm.
that's enough where that's going to cover quite a bit of medical bills. But I do want to point out that they probably didn't even need to worry about selling the house or anything like that for the medical bills, because a lot of hospitals will give you a line of credit, either basically like very, very low interest rate type of thing for medical bills and stuff like that. So there probably still were alternatives. I think that they're still going to be doing well for themselves to be able to pay that off. But I don't know. I mean, I think that it's a complicated situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like his attitude here. Like, I don't know. I guess if she doesn't want to know about finances, but I feel like when you're making that much more, like it should be something you mention. Like you never once were like, "Hey, partner, I'm gonna treat you because of my book deal," or,
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he's been very quiet about his book deals
mm-hmm.
because they're kind of on the erotica side of things, and so
Yeah, well, romantasy has kind of a reputation for being a bit smutty.
yeah. And so I think that it's one of those things where he's trying to keep this under wraps as much as possible. He may not want a lot of people to know that he's earning money off of book sales because of like the connotation and stuff like that. And she may even feel very uncomfortable with the books that he's writing. And so, I agree with you that he probably should have mentioned that he was going to be earning some odd amount of money, but it's a little bit of a difficult situation because they did negotiate hobby money to go into their own accounts. But I mean, she does have a point where this is a little bit more than just hobby petty cash,
Well,
right?
that's it exactly. Is like I'm assuming like your average eBay business is not making very much money
Hmm.
or Etsy, sorry. Most Etsy sellers are making very very small amounts. So if she's making a few hundred or even like a few $1,000s a year, that's enough for a few extras, but that's not like emergency fund type money.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like, he should have been more clear about how much money he was making. But I also feel like there's a major breakdown in communication in this relationship because I'm an author and like I tell you every step of the way. And it seems like he never told her that she got a contract with a big five publisher. He never told her, when the book came out. All of these things he did, it was all kind of almost secretive. And like, if you feel like you have to hide that, that's not a good thing in a relationship.
Well, but to be fair, her reaction to his stuff doesn't seem like a lot of interest. Like, I don't think he was hiding it. I think he just assumed that she didn't like it or she was embarrassed by it
Well, but
or.
that's what I'm saying is like, regardless of the reason,
Mhm.
it's not a healthy relationship if you're keeping that stuff from your partner.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So, anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Letting My Twins Call My Boyfriend Dad? I am a 25-year-old female, and my boyfriend is a 28-year-old male, and we have been together for 3 years and have been living together with my twins, 3-year-old males, for 2 years. Me and their father, a 26-year-old male, have never been together, and he didn't want to be part of their life until they were a year old. We have a custody agreement that they go over there every other weekend, with him on Saturday, with me dropping them off and picking them up, but last weekend my boyfriend had to pick them up because I had a work trip. For some context, the twins don't know a life without my boyfriend. We have been together since I found out that I was pregnant, and he was there for all the ultrasounds, the birth classes, and he sat and read all the books with me and was there for the labor. He loves them like his own, and in my eyes, they're as much his kids as mine. He was up all the late nights taking care of not only me, but them too. Back to it, he was picking up the kids for me. This is not the first time. And they called him daddy to get his attention, and he was talking to my ex. He said that my ex seemed okay with it in the moment, and he left and took them home. But while I was at the airport, my ex called me, screaming, saying how undermining and disrespectful it was that the twins called him daddy while they wouldn't speak at his house, which I had not known about, considering that the twins don't stop talking while at my house until they fall asleep. But then he started complaining about custody, which was originally his idea because he was working a lot and saying that it was my fault because my boyfriend is spending more time with them and he doesn't have enough time to bond with them. He then started on how it was not right that the twins were so comfortable with my boyfriend, but his fiance couldn't hug the twins without bribing them. I ended up hanging up on him because my plane was boarding and he was just screaming at me. Later, when I got home, his fiance started calling and texting me, which I ignored because she's been known to have a terrible attitude towards me, even when I'm just picking up the twins. I talked with my boyfriend to see what we should do about the twins calling him daddy, and he said that it's up to me and that he loves it, but he would understand if I told them to stop. But I don't know. I love that my twins call him dad, and I feel like he's earned it. But I didn't know if I was being a jerk because my ex is in their life and he's their father. I'm going to put that in quotes. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. Family is more than blood. It seems like OP's current partner has done way more for these children than their biological father. And honestly, I'm a little bit concerned about some of the things he says. How he says that the kids don't talk at his house,
Yeah,
and
they
that
have to bribe
his
them.
yeah his fiance has to bribe them for affection. I'm wondering what's going on at this house. Like, this should be raising some alarm bells for you.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they're not talking. They don't feel comfortable to talk, and I'm wondering if it's something he does. Does he yell at them a lot? I mean, he yelled at OP on the
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
So I'd honestly, make note of that. And I know you have a custody agreement, you have to follow it. But just try to be aware and maybe talk to the kids, find out what goes on at their dad's house,
Mm-hmm.
or put them in therapy if you can afford it. Child therapists can be really helpful with things like play therapy to help kids, find out how to convey what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just a little concerned about how he describes things at his house.
Yeah, I'm pretty concerned about that as well. I mean, it doesn't seem like a healthy environment. It doesn't seem like a loving environment, and there's a good chance that there's a reason why they have to bribe the kids and that they won't talk while they're there. I mean, they don't seem like they're happy when they're there. And maybe it's just that they're, uncomfortable and outside of their element.
Right, because they're away from their primary parents, and they're still relatively young, but it's still one of those things you want to keep an eye on.
Yeah. So, but let me know what you folks think. Anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Attend My Brother's Wedding After He Scheduled It on My Son's Birthday? My brother recently announced his wedding date, and it turns out that he set it up on the same day as my son's 10th birthday. I spoke to him privately and explained that this day is important to us, and he asked us if there was any flexibility with that date. He told me that the venue that they want is only available on that specific day and that they wouldn't be able to change it. I've always been close to my brother, but I felt that this was a bit inconsiderate to me and my family. My son was really looking forward to his milestone birthday with a special party that we had planned, which now has to be canceled. I told my brother that because of this, we would not be able to attend the wedding. He got upset and said that I was being unreasonable and trying to make his wedding about us. My parents think that I'm being a bit harsh and should just reschedule my son's birthday. However, I feel like my brother could have been more thoughtful when planning his big day, especially since he knew how much birthdays mean in our family. Now, it feels like my decision is causing a rift in the family. Am I a jerk for sticking to my decision to prioritize my son's birthday over my brother's wedding? All right, folks, what do you think?
How soon is the brother's wedding? Like, if it's 2 weeks from now, I understand OP's upset and not wanting to cancel something. But if we're talking, 6 months or a year out, and OP either hasn't booked things yet or can change the booking without a financial loss, then I would say just move the kid's birthday party to a different day. It's not worth the hassle. Weddings are much harder because vendors are get booked out more.
Yeah, I mean, some vendors you have to book years in advance, right?
Yeah.
I think that they are being a little bit peculiar in this situation. Chances are this is months in advance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that OP, has plenty of time to reschedule the son's birthday. And I would like to point out to OP, how do you even remember your 10th birthday? I mean, how many people remember their 10th birthday or the details of that? Maybe some people do. Maybe some 10th birthdays are like big events for people, but in general, I don't think that many people have like solid foundational memories of their 10th birthdays. And I think that they are making a little bit too big of a deal out of this when it's something that could be moved to the next weekend.
Well, that's the thing, is like, it's not like a birthday party has to happen on the day of. Usually birthday parties are held on the weekend anyway because that's when it's convenient for people.
Mm-hmm.
So probably the kid's birthday party has been on his not actual birthday before in the past. And so doing it a week earlier or a week later won't hurt anything.
Yeah. So that's my thoughts here. I think that OP is being a bit inflexible. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, I found a hidden letter from my wife and I broke down, and Amber wants to read this one.
Last night I was cleaning out the drawers in our bedroom, something I'd been putting off for months. It was just supposed to be one of those boring, mundane tasks. But buried underneath an old stack of receipts, I found an envelope with my name on it. It wasn't sealed, and the handwriting was of my wife. I hesitated for a second before opening it. My heart was racing for reasons I couldn't explain. Was it something she wrote but never gave me? Was it a goodbye? Inside was a letter written months ago. The first few lines immediately broke me. I know you've been struggling. I know you feel like you're failing us, but you need to know that I see you. Every late night, every small gesture, every sacrifice. You're not failing. You're holding us together even if you don't feel like it. I really love you. OP's name. She went on to thank me for things I didn't even realize she noticed. How I always make sure her favorite snacks were in the pantry, how I let her vent even when I was exhausted, and how I stayed up late working just so we could have some extra breathing room financially. By the time I finished the letter, I was in tears. I'd been feeling so lost lately, like I wasn't enough for her or our family. I never told her that, but somehow she knew. When she came home, I showed her the letter and tried to thank her, but she froze. She looked confused and said, "What letter?" My stomach dropped. She didn't remember writing it. For a moment, I thought it wasn't even hers. My mind spiraled. Was this some kind of cruel prank? Then she burst out laughing. "I'm kidding," she said, grinning at me. "I thought you'd never find that." She explained that she'd written it during a tough week when she saw how much I was carrying without complaint. She meant to give it to me, but then felt awkward and stuffed it in the drawer, thinking I'd never come across it. I didn't know whether to laugh or to cry again. She pulled me into a hug and said, "You deserved to hear it then, and you still do now." Sometimes life feels so heavy that we forget we're not in it alone. And sometimes the people who love us most find the perfect way to remind us, whether by accident or not.
I think that's a lovely story.
Yeah, so wholesome.
Very wholesome. A very nice letter. I'm glad that OP and their wife have such a great relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Why shouldn't you work for a dragon?
Well, you shouldn't work for a dragon because they might get you fired, might fire you or something like that.
Yeah, you may get fired.
Oh, yes.
And today is Appreciate a Dragon Day.
Ooh, like me. I'm a dragon.
Are you now?
Yes, a ferocious dragon, fire breathing. And I have Mega Mint to cool off the flames. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday, Junior, folks.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Thanks so much to Amber for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please have it a bit wholesome.
It can be good to let the people in your life know that you care and that you see them. You never know how much that will mean.
I think that's good advice. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.